Or what are your thoughts when you reflect on the contents of this screen? Or what your creative sensitivities? Whatever is written there, if you know English language, it is clear. But what if you apply your creative sensitivity, or what if you look at it from a vantage point of your creative sensitivity or sensitivity that creates uh, uh, ideas and perceptions and cognitions about linkage. Anu? Anything other than what Tintin said? Or if you want to
Okay.
repeat, if you want to reconceptualize what Tintin said, or if you whatever you want to say, you can say. That's all.
Okay, this is a concept sensitivity test. By that, the thing that came to my mind is by concepts. These are the impressions that we form in our mind. So, how sensitive is our mind to the impressions that get formed? So, are we a very flexible medium, or are we a very rigid medium? How easily are impressions being formed in our mind? Easily or differently are impressions being formed in our mind?
How
So
creatively
that's what the test.
also. How creatively also.
Yeah, creative.
Creatively meaning what
Yes.
new linkages you interpret or discover using these contents in the subsequent slides. So
Yes.
concept sensitivity, because sensitivity has a linkage here. The word term sensitivity has a linkage here. What is that? Anybody else answer that question? The
It is a
concept is
linkage to our mind. It is a linkage to our minds,
all right.
mind, intellect, and
Much more clearly. No, much more relevant, much more directly. The word sensitivity here has a definite link.
Because we discussed about it in the previous class.
Yeah, because this is done in continuity with the creative sensitivity or sensitivity lag. Of course, like Anuradha said, the mindset, the most critical mindset, which we discussed. I don't know, Anuradha was not present there, I suppose. Yeah.
yes,
Sensitivity lag is the centralmost mindset in the questionnaire of Pradeep Khandwala, or the listed mindsets that block originality and creativity and genius. Therefore, in the test itself, 10 items out of 40 are reserved for that. So there was some discussion on creative sensitivity or sensitivity lag in the previous session. So this is coming in continuity with that, Anuradha. All right. Okay. Anybody else who would like to say anything more? Any more linkages hidden in this slide? In this slide,
well, on a very lighter note, I don't know because it's just from the title of the slide, Krishna's nursery. So, word settings from Gita, Master Krishna to Master Anu is what I thought initially when I first read.
it could be that also. Why not? We are
Then I
all
realized it's the
masters.
same
We
name
are
too.
all
Yeah.
masters, or I want every one of you to become masters. Don't get blocked by the names of some masters in the world. All right. Okay. That's why I have just put initials. That's what I'm asking you. Why you are not asking questions? Why K and A? It could have been. Do you think it was my laziness that I did not type Krishna or Arjuna? No. So even if it is so, let us say I just, for time's sake, I just put K and A. Anyway, I'm going to talk about this. Even if it was so, it is your creative freedom to attribute this wonder that to this given data. Sometimes the author may say, no, I never thought all those things. Like you interpret painting. Even classic paintings, so portraits, Mona Lisa. More than 10 books are there on one single painting, Mona Lisa of Leonardo da Vinci. Film criticism, poetic criticism. Perhaps the writer may never have thought all those things. But it is a creative work of the interpreter to you say that. So it is between two entities for the sake, like in algebra, K and A, that's all. All right. Any more? Any more? That I have pointed out. That hidden in most. That is the linkage which was most hidden out of all that you have identified. Any more? Any more deeper interpretation? Any more? Sorry, forget about the word deeper. These are all blocks. Any more? Some silly interpretations. Let us say so that your mind can be free.
Sir, the fact that you chose two rhyming letters K and A to show a similarity.
K and J. All right. And incidentally, J normally I use in capital letter to refer to somebody else. Who is that?
The other genius,
Yeah. Who?
Jesus.
Of course. Normally I write KBJ. Krishna, Buddha, Jesus. That's a good observation. That's a good interpretation, in fact. Which in fact, I never thought about that. That's why right now only I remembered that. I remembered an option just to see what I did just now. When she said that, it occurred to me that there's a hidden possibility that many of the alphabets may not have A in its syllables. So I said the K is one of the very few letters, perhaps only one. Then K, then J, another I identified. And J incidentally stands for another super genius called Jesus. Very interesting observation. Come on. Anything more?
So normally
Yeah.
we have discussions between a master and a disciple.
Huh.
In this case, you used both the master K and master A.
Beautiful. But normally, nobody refers to A as a master.
Yes, sir.
But A is a master in what aspect?
Archery.
Exactly, that's all. Like Shogun could spare the wonderful guy because he was a master cook. If you remember in that parable named master cook, the term master cook is used only once. Till then it was all cook only. Only Shogun, another master, declared that he is a master cook. Only a master can really declare, identify a master. How can an ordinary person? That's why conventionally only universities are given the authority to give the degree Master of Arts. No other institute is allowed. With the assumption that university is the top. Yeah, of course. So in the system, university is the top. All right. Yeah, very good. Come on. I think almost everybody thought there was no more interpretations possible. It is called creative sensitivity. Sensitivity. Yeah, come on, apply. Drive, press the accelerator, put it into first gear and try. Whether
Sir,
the way, yeah,
uh, you have written word settings from Gita and not from the Gita. So
yeah,
Gita could be a person also.
yeah. So Gita is the name, it could be the name of a human being also.
That's interesting.
Yeah,
So here comes another person into the element.
so
So
that there are three people, let us say so.
there are three people, and we've also found hidden linkages to another two as well. One via KA and J,
Yeah,
and also the person who did the Gita, who wrote the Gita.
all right, wonderful.
One,
Yeah,
two, three.
one more. To my sensitivity, one more.
Rather than using verses or sentences or concepts or ideas from Gita, it is used as word settings.
Beautiful observation. That also is important. That must remind you that every language is nothing but word settings. What is the advantage if you look at every language as word setting? Every language, or I will add, by the way, I wanted to add one more concept. Every language word setting. I wanted to add one more thing with every language. What is that?
Spoken, written.
Yeah, exactly. Especially written language and spoken language. And one more.
Thought.
Every alphabetical language.
No, that is understood. What did you say, Sudhi?
Every language that we think about, like how we think.
Yeah, exactly. Of course, what Tintin said also is important. The printed words, the language of your thinking, that is the most important. That's your clear path to discover the so-called higher elevated possibility of the you named genius. That's what I implied many times before, that reading somebody descriptions about somebody else's path to enlightenment or satori or genius or originality cannot be imitated, duplicated by another person. I even told, even if the so-called God comes before you and gives you a suggestion by language, you have to discover what those languages are having reference in your system. God is everywhere, but which referent? Whether the flower or the stone or the tree or the flower or the mist or the rain or all this together. But is that the God? They are not able to identify that. People are not telling. People are having God by centricity and conformity. So nobody is talking a lot about in which way the God is present everywhere and within you too. Therefore, people are not able to look at it and identify that. They also perhaps suspect that. But what? It's because of the stupid familiarity trap, they cannot really believe that even every piece of stone is nothing but a godly matter on this planet Earth or in this universe. Then they are going into its atomic structure, okay, subatomic particle. Oh, is that the God? And recently somebody discovered God particle. Even then nobody is ready to accept it, because the concept of God has been interpreted and created by somebody else in an advantageous way for them, as well as maybe to manage the easy perception of the population. That's all. What more remains there to be interpreted? Come on, do it quickly. What is that? Where are you thinking? Look at it.
I see 12 slides, 12 season. Sorry,
No.
volume.
I am saying about this given presented slide only. First slide.
Tintin did mention about the number of characters involved in this slide. Krishna, Arjuna, and Gita could be interpreted as a person, and he said Vyasa also because he wrote the Gita. I'm saying there are two more people involved, each one of us as a taker of the test and master as the person who conceptualized the test.
Yeah, I wanted, but you began in a different way, but I wanted someone to talk about the concept of test.
Right, yes.
I
And
wanted to say that first. Oh,
in the
yeah.
beginning, okay, in the beginning, Tintin talked about some key concept or something like that. Here, actually, the key concept is test. Why,
That's interesting.
why here the key concept is test?
Because that is the purpose behind this deck.
1, 2,
Because that is what is happening right now.
3.
It is about ourselves.
4.
We need the test to push our boundaries and explore sensitivities.
5.
Test has a limited time duration.
Not necessarily.
So in our context, we're doing it.
That cannot be linkage here.
Okay.
The test is a measure.
Yeah, 6. Sorry, 7.
Sir, sensitivity can be tested only by an outside agent. You in this instance.
Exactly. Yeah, another person. Another person only can test, so-called a test. Even when you do it with you, unless you have that clear
That's
internal dialogue and the will, you cannot put it to test. That's why a lot of people are not able to follow their will, because they are still taking the other side of the self for granted. Whichever self is telling, why don't you do it now? Some part is not doing it. So that part is taken for granted. Then come on, 9.
So test is where we try to relate whatever our learnings to that particular context and deliver.
Of course. 10.
Test results in results.
Okay.
a good one.
You have different meanings for results, right? Okay, good.
Yes, sir.
12.
Sir, the testing agent has to be sensitive.
No, that is a general linkage like Minash mentioned. You have to, because test is a key concept here. We are not discussing the general concept of test study. Then what you said is okay, what Minash said is okay, time limit, etc. is okay. All right, yeah.
Test is where we evaluate ourselves, and based on what we say, we are being evaluated and we know where we stand. So
Yeah,
such
you get the feedback.
feedback.
Even if the external agency does not give, nevertheless there is a feedback which most of the people disregard. But a creative person always search for his own genuine feedback very rigorously, very daringly. Which we have mentioned in the past about the 6 attributes of genius, self-verification tendency. All right, now do you see almost half an hour every one of you could make linkages. Linkaging is the critical thing. Linkages in interpretation, in reflection, attention, etc. You discover new and new linkages, mostly hidden and the subtle and the intangible and beyond. So, like Mantra Rishi also said, if you apply that level of conceptual sensitivity to your own thoughts, what are the possibilities? Come on. Is the question clear?
No, sir.
If you apply now for the last 30 minutes, you created interpretations and linkages of the concepts in this slide, okay, which I designated as the outcome of creative sensitivity, applying your sensitivity, or that is the word we normally use. And in that context of a test, Mantra Rishika said, this level of concept sensitivity or creative sensitivity can be applied to the concepts that are flowing through our mind also. I mean the words of thought. Why it is? What do you want to say about that? What are the advantages? What are the possibilities of applying creative sensitivity to the ongoing thought process or contents or select contents in your thought process? That is the question.